I would like to go over some important concepts this week concerning working with an if conditional statement and also with debugging your code. So on this web page we have a prompt box and it's asking me to enter in a number, and it has a default value of 21. And if I do enter that number, I also have an alert testing the value, which fires next. And then we have a result on the page. If I hit the F5 key to refresh my page and I enter in a different number, here I have my alert testing and I have different output to my page. One more time, if I refresh my page and enter in something that is not a valid number, my alert says there is a problem and I have a weird message here on my page. Alright, let's take a look at the code here. Here's the prompt statement. It takes two parameters, a default value, which is optional, and the question. The user needs to know what you want them to do. This stores a value, holds a value. We are storing it in this variable called age. Now technically this is a text value. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to redefine the value in my variable by using the parseFloat function, and I am passing it the parameter, which is my variable age. It's a number. Now the reason I'm using parseFloat as opposed to parseInt is in the event that the user entered a fraction. Either way, what it does, it technically converts the number into a real number. We really didn't have to do that for this example, but I'm showing you because it's the professional thing to do. Alright, now I have another variable category. What I want to find out is based on the age. I'm going to output some information to the page. I'm going to say you are, however many years old you are, and I'm going to categorize into three categories: a youth, an adult, or a senior. Alright, so here's my first condition, and when we're comparing two things, we have the AND, meaning it needs to be within this range on the left and this range on the right. And notice we have to repeat the variable name. Now, everything is in my script block. My output will be in my window.onload section. Now here's my alert. So it's very important to know whether or not we've hit the condition or not properly. So if the condition fires, rather than just guessing that it fired and looking at the web page to see whether the expression is true or not, we can tell by using the alert. Now, we're also going to, based on this age, we're going to be storing values in this variable category. Now, we already have the age being stored up here. So I have if, this first condition, else if, a second condition, else if, a third condition. And notice the way my curly braces are written. You either want to write your curly braces down on the left-hand line or this way, which is a little bit more typical, saves a little bit of space. Here again, whichever style you choose is fine. Just be consistent all across the board. It makes it easier to debug, easier for you to read, easier for browsers and third-party agents to read. Alright, now in our Onload function, this is where we're writing to the page. And inside, there's our, what I call a placeholder, ID equals response, and we're going to concatenate a nice long expression. And we're actually concatenating off the page running over here. Alright, so we're concatenating a literal, we're actually putting in some HTML. Now, in the past, I have seen some people doing this. They actually put the whole if inside the onload function and inside each condition they do a document get element by ID, they write to the page. That is not the way you do it. You never repeat the same line of code over and over again. What we're doing is we're writing to the page once, and we're just changing the value of the variables. They're just placeholders. Everything else is going to stay the same. Alright, so what I'd like to do is I would like to show you another way. Rather than putting these alerts in here, I'm going to comment these alerts out. And to start off with, I'm going to make a mistake. I'm going to put age X. Alright, and I'm going to save this. And now I'm going to refresh my browser. And the prompt fired because JavaScript reads from the top down. However, nothing else is showing up on the page. Why? Because there's an error. Alright, one way of looking at errors, and I'm in Chrome. And if I hit the F12 key, notice I get an error message here. So this is one good way of finding errors. When nothing happens, there's going to be a problem. And rather than trying to go back and eyeball it, you should be able to catch it with the developer tools. Another very nice tool is Jas Lint. And you can copy and paste source code here, click this button, and that will also help to debug code. These developer tools work very good for debugging syntactical errors. However, they can be used for logical errors also. A logical error is not going to pop up this quickly. So let's go back into our code. Let's fix this. And before we start looking at another error, let's learn about how to use this. Back into our application. There's the prompt. I'm going to put a 60 in here. And there we are. Alright, I'm going to hit F12. And sometimes this toolbox might show up on the right hand side, sometimes it shows up down here. There are tools in which you can move it around. Here we are. You can dock it on one side or the other. I prefer it on the bottom. And by the way, if you click on elements, here you can see, and you can actually see the output of your code here. On the left, this is an inspector. This is more for inspecting your HTML and CSS on the right hand side over here. If we go to sources and we have the message, hit Control P to open a file, so I will do that. And the file I want to open is the one we have here. And now I see the file open. And notice on the right hand side I have these windows. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to set up a watch, and I'm going to click this plus sign for variable values. So I'm going to type in age, hit the enter key, set up another one, and category. And notice it's already giving me values there. So rather than coding in alerts, you can actually watch the values as you go through code to make sure that your conditions are being read correctly. Alright, let me go into the left hand side, and what I'm going to do what is called set a breakpoint. And this is essentially where the code is going to start, and I can step through lines of code. This is the point where I need to refresh my document. Alright, once I've done that, on the right hand side my tools become active. Alright, and notice my age is undefined and my category is undefined, and I'm starting right here at the prompt. And if I click this little step, I want step into, what it will do, it will go through each line of code. Now it's asking me my age. I'm going to put a 5 in there. Now I'll say OK. Alright, now notice here age is 5. Very good. Now I'm going to step into again. Alright. Now we're reading down the code. There's the category. So on the left hand side we're reading down the code. All right, and we're in our if where we just where we're looking at. Okay, the first value of age came from the prompt. Now we're looking at this, our first if. All right, now it's called reading the variable, and now we see that indeed did execute in the first if, because now I'm down to the function where I'm reading. So it's a little bit more efficient, and as code gets more involved, it can be helpful. All right, I'm going to close that. I'm going to go back in, and I'm going to make a mistake. I'll make the mistake in my first one. I'll make a mistake in number 2. I'm going to change my 55 to a 15 by accident. So what I'm saying, if age is greater than or equal to 19, and age is less than or equal to 15, that's impossible. However, it's not a syntax error, so it would not show up in the console. Alright, let's go back. I'm going to reload my page. There's my prompt, and let me type in 15. Oh, it did type in 15. Alright. Okay, it's what I need to do is I need to do 21 or something like that. There we go. Okay, so that if where I'm testing for the adult is invalid and it's coming out to unknown unknown. So let's hit F12 and take a look at our developer tools. Here again, it's pretty much keeps track of where we were. Alright, so let's go up here. It has our variables back in there, and we're going to start from the beginning. We're going to set our breakpoint, and we're going to reload our page. And now we're going to start stepping. Alright. Okay, and 21 is what we want to test, because that's where the problem is. Now, notice, that's the age coming from the prompt. We're going to step in one more time. There's our variable declaration for category on the left. This is our first if. Alright, our age is 21. It does not fall in there. There's our second if. Our age is 21. It should fall in there. It doesn't fall in there. Therefore, our value for category is not going to show up. Alright, there's our else if. Doesn't fall in there. And therefore, you can see that it's resorting to the last unknown, and what that will do, it will actually show you that there is an error by the fact that we did not match a category, so you know that somewhere there is an error, and you saw that when we went into our second if. So this is just a quick overview on using the developer tools, working with this what is called a watch window, seeing values of variables on the right, on the left setting breakpoints so you can step through code, and using the tools to step into the code.